Let's go ahead and get started here. Come over to ZTRADEZ.net, check out our terms and conditions page, agree to our disclaimer and our terms and conditions. If you do not watch this video and do not join the newsletter or community in the description of this video. Let's go ahead and get started on SPY. You know, I hit our chart pattern detector here. I didn't even see this. We snapped it, and here's the retest. This could fail, and we could just continue up and not stop. Wouldn't surprise me. With the momentum we're having in our economy, it is insane. Job numbers were bad, which is good because now Powell's like, there's my excuse to cut. I'm going to hold until things cool off, then I'll do it. There's my excuse, right? Looks like he's going to cut. They're claiming 4 till the end of the year. And if that's what Powell was waiting for, and he literally put his foot down and he didn't care what happened, my respect for him goes up. It definitely goes up. I respect him. I'm a little bit upset with him because he was too, everyone's like, oh, too late to cut. You know, don't be mad at that. You know, I'm upset with that, but he's being very ethical where he's like, I'm only going to cut until these things happen. Yeah, it is politically driven. That's influencing him a bit. I got you on that. What everyone should be mad about is the way he cut. And this is off topic before I go into the watch list. I wanted to say this, right? If you're going to be late to hike interest rates after COVID happened, then you have to come out the gates with like a 1-point cut and then another 1-point cut, then a half point, then tear it off into quarters. If you're going to be a year late, which he was. Because right in the first quarter of 2021 should have been rate cuts right out the gates. They could have started off with like a half point, a quarter of a half point, and tiered it up. Since they were late, they should have started out with 1 full point and just said, "Hey, we'll wait to see what happens, and we may not hike again. We're just going to wait to see what happens," and kept like, you know, not telling everyone what was going to happen. I don't know. We were doing 1 point, though, and we don't know. We'll judge the data in the future, right? That would have held everything up a bit more. But he started late and started off with 1/4 point cut. What? I mean, hikes? What are you doing? You know, this is where you need Volcker. You need Volcker in there, even though he's not with us anymore. Anyways, we could continue up at this. You know, we already broke this. Here's the retest. If this snaps, this thing's, you know, 611, 612 is 611's on the table with this volume gap over here. Maybe the 50 EMA, if that snaps, this volume gap I see. I don't really see it filling the gap. 601, it could happen maybe late September if he doesn't cut, but it looks like it's a plot twist here, and we might just go up, and we may just continue up. The bullish momentum. Right? Let's move on to Netflix. Speaks for itself. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Weekly. Absolute. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 candles down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 right into the 20 EMA and a bounce. Beautiful. If you would have just caught that little move right there, I mean, the amount of money is just ridiculous in 1 week on a candle bounce like that. Netflix looking absolutely amazing. Here's what really looks good. By the way, guys, these yellow lines, I know it's kind of annoying, but that's earnings. So I'm just letting you guys know that, that's what that is, and that's why I haven't taken it off. I have the automatic chart patterns up here. Here we go without all this. Just focus on the lows, right? Low, higher, low, higher, you know, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, lows, flat. These aren't really higher lows. I was kind of going in this without looking at it, pretend I didn't say that. We're heading into a low volume area up here. We have resistance there, these previous highs, especially right here, right? 365. It'll have some trouble up there, but we got this gap over here to 403. That's what I have my eyes on. Yeah, we got the daily. Yeah, we got the weekly. Check out the monthly on this. Monthly on this just looks absolutely amazing. It just looks beautiful. Let's go ahead and make this thing bigger. That looks amazing. This would be my target anywhere up in here. You know, 386, maybe where these bodies are at, around the fours, low fours. I think that could easily happen. Easily happen. UNH, it's crazy to see how well this has been holding up throughout all this, guys. Let's go ahead and turn chats back on. There we go. UNH, I really don't need to have earnings up. Let's turn earnings off. There we go, a little bit more clean. Take a look at that. Now, I had posted in last week's newsletter about how we were holding the volume shelf, and if we cracked it, I had these levels laid out. And it didn't crack it. We're also RSI is at 30. It held. So we have a volume gap up there to 280, which could happen. I don't know what would send it up, but that could absolutely happen. We held this volume shelf as of now. What would be nice if we clear the 320 range into this, and back up to this low volume area. I don't know what that's going to take. AEO, I don't know about healthcare. Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to consider it. But with RFK in cracking down on things, I don't know about that. Orange Man also does want to lower the cost of insulin, which should happen, right? I assume that would be very good for these insurance companies because they're not going to have to pay as much. So we'll see. Look at AEO on the monthly. I'm just going to toy around with this real quick. Yeah, that's a no. Let's toy around with it like this. Let me see this. That's... Forget it. Forget I even did that. Let's go over to the weekly. Let's go over to the daily. This looks unbelievably good right here, guys. Here's the thing. What's going on over here? Let's go ahead and fix this. Low volume area. Okay, with a gap. Let's get these EMAs so we can all see this a bit better. EMA 100 off, 50 off, 200 off. Anchored VWAP off. There we go. Nice and clean. Nice and clean. All right. Low volume area. Oh, this is taking me forever. Way too long here. Plus a gap. Perfect. Perfect. We got a gap all the way up here to $19. This doesn't look bad, especially, we'll see. We're on a volume shelf right here, but we go into really low volume, especially up to 15. They're doubling down. They're like, nope, not apologizing. We're actually going to ramp it up and run even more ads, even more offensive. And it's just like, whoa. So, this ad campaign really, really worked. Really worked well for them. They were selling out of Sydney's jeans. I don't know what jeans they are. I'm not a girl. I don't buy them. But the ones that she was promoting were sold out. I'm expecting that to bleed into into next earnings. I was looking at AEO before all this down here, and I'm like, this is low. This is not a bad idea. Look at the P to E 13 divvy. I think was in the 4s. If I get assigned shares, which I'm in them, beautiful, great, right? I'm fine with owning it here. This is like value area. So, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens on this. Very interesting to see what happens. And we're going to move on. A lot of retail is down right now. Gap was down. I'm going to pull that up in a second. Target is down. Walmart was slightly down for a little bit. It was holding. We're going to pull up Target in a second. So, guys, if I owned a clothing line, I wouldn't even put me on it. I wouldn't want to model my own clothes. I'd be like, I'm not pretty enough. I would look for someone that was just an absolute, like they weren't even real to model my clothes. Like, I don't know why that's not I get it. It was unrealistic and unhealthy, the stuff that companies were promoting for young women and young men, and it wasn't healthy, right? You can absolutely make that argument. You should be able to understand that and agree with that somewhat. But again, looking for, from a business perspective, if I were to put my business hat on, I would absolutely want someone that just looked like they weren't even real to model my clothes, right? So that's a look that everyone could go for, and wear those, whatever product I had, whatever clothing line I had. To make it look even better, right? So, I can completely understand why they did that. They just took it too far. The pendulum swung way too the other way to where you're like, this isn't making sense anymore, you know? But this was just normal 10 years ago. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to Target. Let me move back here. That gap was filled. Interesting. That 113 gap. I charted that a while ago. That was in 2024. I don't even remember charting that. We got a gap all the way up here to 153. I don't know if that's happening anytime soon. 137, that could happen. Let's go ahead and adjust this. I don't know why this has to be so long. Low volume, this whole area. We'll just make this short. This doesn't look bad. I wonder if we're going to form an IHS. If this could dip down a little bit. If it dips down a lot, then it's bearish and it fails. If it fails to dip down and create a right shoulder, that may be a good thing that it doesn't create an IHS because it's so strong. We can blast in this lower volume area. Where is, let's go ahead and turn earnings on. Okay, we've got those coming up on when? Look at the very bottom. Down here, the 20th. 10 days. So tomorrow's the 11th. It's the 15th. 18th would be not this Monday, but the following. And so I think the run-up, if it's going to happen, is going to happen this week. Especially towards mid and the end of the week. I think that's when it would pick up if it happens. So, yeah, and I'm selling covered calls for the 109 strike. I bought these at 105. I bought 100 shares. So if I got assigned on that, if it hit 109 by expiration or above, I'd be forced to sell them at 109. That'd be 400 profit plus the covered call, 500. I'm hoping I don't, and they expire worthless. And then right before earnings, I could sell like a 120. That way, if it shot up there, then it'd be 105 to 120, 1500 plus the covered call. The two that I collected, that'd be another 3. That would be it'd be like 1800. I would have collected in a matter under a month from running the wheel on this, trying to run the wheel, starting off with a covered call, doing a little bit backwards instead of entering with cash secure puts. Target on watch this week, beaten down. We'll see what happens. I mean, look at Target on a higher time frame. Let's go over and go to a weekly. I don't necessarily like that over there, but let's go ahead and take a look at a monthly. I like that. I should have been on there because this was a classic 1, 2, 3 right here. I should have been picking that up at 86. Just jumped in shares there. It would have been great. Yeah, I see that. I'm kind of seeing something here. Let me just see if I can. Let me see if I can chart this out. It would have been nice to fit that in there, wouldn't it? Wonder if I turn a linear on. Yeah. Let me do something real quick here, guys. I'm just going to play with the charts live. I want to see something, see if I can fit all of this in here. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? That can somewhat work, right? The fact that, that somewhat works here. Somewhat works here. Let's take a look at from up here. Yeah, we're in a down channel. Interesting. Who knows how far this will keep going. We have lots of volume over here. If this thing really went south, I don't really see it dropping lower than that. Let's keep moving on here. IBIT. Let's turn linear off. Let's turn the monthly off. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly looks amazing. Flag. I was wrong about, Powell wasn't going to cut. He was clapping everything. That's what chased me out of this to begin with, or I would have just continued to hold. I've been in this stuff since 2023. This is ridiculous. It's been such a frustrating, and we're heading into 2026. On the edge of my seat. I made money. I did very, very well here. We're flagging on the daily as well as the weekly. Let's go ahead and pull up Bitcoin instead. Now all of a sudden Powell's going to cut. Now he is. It's like right as I exit, I made great. I did very well on this. This was beautiful right over in here. Really beautiful. That was beautiful. I called that very well. Called that one. Let's go ahead and go to a monthly. This thing's just climbing on up. Let's take a look at some other stuff. some other cryptos here. Sol could do it. You know, I definitely see it could possibly, you know, we have that 300 mark on the horizon. Possibly, we'll see. Let's go over to the daily. And there's nothing really here to see. Here's another one. There's lots of insider buying. Lots of insider buying. Look at this right off this volume shelf. This could, in my opinion, easily. Let's come over to here. Let's scroll down. Where'd it go? Right here. Look at all this insider buying. Everybody. 1, 2, 3. 3 people were buying on the inside. Keep this on watch. Keep this on watch. They were buying this up. Gap here to 29, gap here to 37, had a high of 44. Right? Not bad. Keep that on watch. If you guys like this content, make sure to like and follow for more. I'm going to continue my videos, my other videos, just on other topics that I have going on that I like to talk about. That's going to resume in this following week. And I will see you guys in the Discord.